What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the Ken's Pats Talk Patriot Podcast. I am joined by your own Tom Curran from the NBC Sports Boston Patriots, one of the best Patriots beat reporters out there. Him and my guy Evan Lazar, man, I love watching y'all. You and Phil do a good job. Greg Bedard, he's okay, but I'm a big Tom Curran fan.
I appreciate you. I'm a big Kendall fan. Thanks a lot for having me on, buddy.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Hey, Tom, we can go ahead and jump right in. I know you fresh off the press conference with Bill Belichick. Give us a summary of everything that happened. Well, everything less that Bill talked about. I know he didn't say much.
Yeah, he didn't, but he did give a few nuggets that are encouraging for the start of camp. He mentioned that Trent Brown is here, expected to participate fully, ready to go is what Bill described him as. And that's important to me because I think that the condition he was in minicamp was not encouraging. Also, Lawrence Guy seemingly has resolved or at least shown up for camp. We'll see if he's on the field. So he was in a holdout during minicamp. Tyquan Thornton, Juju Smith-Schuster, according to Bill, both are also guys who showed up along with about 35 other guys early to try and get a head start on things. Also, we mentioned that Jack Jones, who was arrested, obviously, last month at Logan Airport for possession of two handguns. He will be on the field to begin camp. He has an August 18th court date. Bill wouldn't comment any further on that. So all those things are checked off, too. And, Kendall, it's important for folks to remember, too, the beginning of these camps, the NFL and NFLPA have got it kind of legislated that this is very much a ramp-up period. They don't hit the ground running. They're almost like captain's practices that we used to do back in the day. They're basically just like OTAs. They won't hit.
It's an extension of OTAs. It's an extension of OTAs.
Yeah, you're just going to see the same kinds of things. Not a lot of contact. Yep.
Sounds good, Tom. What are your training camp storylines for this year?
To me, I think offensive line, we're going to focus a lot, Kendall, on Mac and Bill O'Brien and the changes to the offense and Mac's leadership and Bill's interactions with Mac and how the wide receivers look. But before all of those things can really come to fruition and realize their potential, he's got to be protected. I mean, it was a problem in 2021. He was one of the most hit players in the NFL at the quarterback position. Still had a good year. I think that, despite the rap on him as being not incredibly tough, I think he is physically can take a beating. And I think he has shown that, even though he had that weird reaction when he sprained his ankle last year against Baltimore. But I think overall, he's shown really good toughness and willingness to take the punishment. But they can't keep punishing the guy. He has to have better protection. So to me, it's Trent Brown, who declares himself at right tackle, and the job Adrian Clem does in bringing these guys along. Because until the offensive line is settled, we can't evaluate Mac. We can't look at the wideouts. We can't decide if Jasicki's a good player or not. Any of those things are held hostage by the line.
What was your first reaction? What your first opinion on trying to get the right word? How can I put it? What was your first opinion of Christian Gonzalez from what you've seen of him in the spring?
Yeah, smooth. Looks like the kind of guy who just, no matter what sport, when you go into a gym and you see somebody moving like that, you go, I don't move like that. Just very graceful, not a lot of wasted motion, unique. And people will see it immediately when they watch, either come down here to training camp or see him in a preseason game. Just that kind of smooth, like Darrelle Revis, different build, but the kind of stop on a dime, accelerate quick, sticky, always in balance type of player. And that's what impressed me so much. Plus, he's friggin' huge, Kendall. He's like 6'2", 6'3".
Compared to what we have,
So
I mean, he's like, dude. Yeah, I think Jones was the biggest corner besides him. So,
yeah.
I can't wait
yeah, and if you want to kick Mills back up, Mills is 6'1", but yeah, he's going to be fun.
Yeah. What did you make of I know Bill, he didn't really I didn't think he'd get into it anyway. He's going to move on to the players that are on the team for this year. the DeAndre Hopkins situation. We had you on before. I talked to you. You didn't really want. You didn't think it was a good fit. How do you think the Patriots look now that they don't have? Do you think they'd be okay?
You know what, Kendall? As time wore on, and I think I might have spoken to you before minicamp. After minicamp and seeing the inavailability of Juju and the injury to Tyquan Thornton, and looking at just kind of how thin they were at wide receiver, and then looking at the salary cap and looking at next year's salary cap, I started to think to myself, you know what? You don't want to have any excuses or any what ifs about the 2023 season with Mac Jones. So I kind of changed my mind on DeAndre Hopkins and said, you know what? Just go get him. Maybe you're overpaying, but this isn't really the time in this franchise's arc where you should be nickel and diming things. If you need something, go get it. It's an important season. I think Bill did operate kind of in the way that I presumed he would, which is set a value, stick to the value. We're not going to chase this guy all over the countryside and plead with him to play for us. And in the end, he's not playing for him. And I think that they would have been a better team with him. And I bet you agree with that, right?
Yes, I do. I mean, I wasn't on a couple of my shows. I wanted kind of like a Jerry Judy or like somebody younger. I didn't think that fit. I just didn't, because I didn't like having the two receivers, because Devontae Parker's 30. DeAndre Hopkins just turned 30. Well, I didn't like having two receivers at the 30. And they basically play about the same. Of course, DeAndre Hopkins is a better receiver and more upside from D Hop. But I just feel like you got two receivers there at 30 plus. I didn't think it was a good fit.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what he does with Tennessee, and I'm fascinated to see how Gonzalez matches up with Hopkins, hopefully, when they are having joint practices in a couple of weeks down in Tennessee.
Yeah. Do you think the Patriots got it right with the Juju Smith-Schuster swap for Jacoby Myers?
I don't. I think it's a miss. I don't understand why Bill so often has an affinity for players who've never played for him and is somewhat dismissive of the contributions of guys who do play for him. I mean, he is more of a devil you don't know than devil you know kind of guy, whether it's Nelson Aguilar or Devontae Parker. Guys who have outlier big games against the Patriots, Bill gets very enamored with. And then you get guys like Jacoby Myers who catches 70 balls for 800 yards every single season for the last 3 years, and you throw him overboard. Yeah, Juju might have more raw physical ability, might be better at it.
It seems like he can't stay healthy.
I know. So, and he doesn't, you're going to have to build the chemistry. You're going to have to spend some time building Juju to the point where he is where Mac Jones was with Jacoby Myers.
All right, so we'll get you out of here in a couple more questions. Is Belichick on the hot seat? I mean, and then that's part A of the question, and part two would be, what do the Patriots need to do this season? Do they need to look better as a team on offense this year, like in special team? Because the special teams was a disaster last year. So do they need to look better this year, or do they need to win games? Because I mean, right now I'm kind of on the fence. Like, okay, they were so bad last year. Anything they do this year is a positive. It's an upgrade. So do they? I think the way I put it, do they need to just look better, but it don't necessarily translate to wins, or do they need to win? Hey, they need to at least get into the playoffs. Where do you side at?
Yeah, I kind of sense Robert Kraft already kind of walking back the notion of I need playoff wins. He's already mentioned a couple of times the difficulty of the schedule. My guy Kyle Hightower just came in from the Associated Press. I'm in his office. I'm an interloper in his office. But if you look at Kraft, he's kind of walked those back. I think the product has to look better. I think if we look at the schedule and how difficult it is and how many outstanding quarterbacks they're seeing, Kendall, it's difficult to say, all right, these guys got to win 12 games or Bill's gone. But I would contend that they were one of the worst coached teams in football. And that's not just offense and Matt Patricia. That's special teams when you're allowing 2 touchdowns in the final game, a critical game for you. That's defensively when you're allowing 30-yard touchdowns to Derek Carr in that Raiders game, in a pivotal game. That's when you're non-competitive against the Buffalo Bills in the first meeting in some ways. When you can't stop Justin Fields, when you can't deal with Lamar Jackson. The defense represented well statistically, but when you really scrutinize the quarterbacks they beat, wasn't a great defense. It might be good. They have some artillery there, but the guys they beat weren't good enough for anybody to feel good about. So the product has to look better there. Obviously, it's going to and has to look better on offense. And there has to be better discipline, less dysfunction, more of a cohesive feeling of, okay, this is the direction the team is going in. Because last year they were just bobbing on the waves. So I think that Bill is, given Robert's comments, kind of on notice. He's talked about results. He talked about relative to the Don Shula record that we don't care about stats here. We never have.
Right.
And I think all those things should lead anybody who's paying attention to understand that Robert Kraft is on his tail and wants results this year.
Yeah, man. Hey, it's going to be interesting to see. The Patriots open up against the Eagles in less than about 2 months. So preseason starting in a couple of weeks. Training camp getting started this week. Last but not least, Tom, give me your record prediction for this season and one standout player for training camp.
Oh, man, you got to get to me in August for the record. Who knows? But I have said a number of times that they will be a double-digit win team. I'm going to say 11-6. I'm going to be optimistic. Okay. And standout player for training camp, I'm going to go with Kyle Duggar taking it even higher to another level and being absolutely dominant in the preseason and during training camp practices.
So you think they can win 11 games?
I mean, you're doing this to me on July 25th. Get back to me August 25th. I might be down to 9 or up to 15.
Yeah. Okay, Tom. I will be at the game. Hopefully, you might be. Hope I can meet you there. The Patriots and Cowboys. I'll be down there. I just got my tickets today. I'll be at that game, man. Can't wait for it. Tom, let everybody know where they can find you at.
All right, it's at Tommy Curran on Twitter, and you can find us at NBCSportsBoston.com. You can also find Tom Curran's Patriots Talk podcast. You can find that on YouTube or in any of your favorite podcasting apps.
Yes, sir. Make sure y'all go check out Tom and Phil. They do weekly podcast, do a great job. Everybody over there at NBC. Like I always tell y'all, I appreciate y'all joining me. Make sure you subscribe to the Kansas Pats Talk Patriots podcast. And let's go, Pats. Have a good one. Appreciate it, Tom.
All right. See you, Kendall. Take care, bud.
Yes, sir.